Pam, and we're at Heirloom Expo, and this is Yeti.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. So that's okay. I have to go back and forth. So anyway, Yeti, I met Yeti in the booth, and he has a wonderful story to tell us. And the first question I wanted to ask him was how he got involved in the many, many things he does for the food movement.
Well, one of my main things is I like to eat bread. And so 30 years ago, I went to the local health food store and bought some organic wheat berries and planted them in a little patch in the orchard. And well, some things grew and some things didn't, and some things were like this and that. And long story short is, I realized I had planted a hybrid. And while the wheat berries looked all the same, the plants did not, and many of them did not grow. So I had to do a quick crash course in what is a hybrid, which is now morphed into what is GMO, but it's basically the same thing. You cannot save the seed from it. So I got involved with at that point, the grain exchange in Kansas, or the seed service exchange, and collecting the old seeds that you can plant and harvest and eat, and then plant some seeds again for the next year.
So why is that important? Why do you think it's important for us to go back to the old varieties and plant our old seeds and be able to get seeds from seeds?
Part of it, I think, is just basic nutrition. I think the old varieties are a lot more nutritious. Second is food security. The hybrids, every plant is exactly the same. And if all the fertility and all your sunshine and whatever is perfect, you have a bumper crop, which is great for a big farmer. In a home gardener, nothing is ever quite perfect. And the old varieties, while there's close within that variety, there's enough diversity in the DNA where, for example, broccoli. A farmer wants to have the same broccoli picked in like one day, the whole acre. That's what I mean. A home gardener, you don't want 20 broccoli plants in one day, 1 or 2 days. You want them spread out over 2 or 3 week period. Mm-hmm. So just basic things like that. And then if you get into saving your own seed, you're adapting that seed to your locality, your soil, and your own stupidity in gardening. Because whatever you do, the plant will adapt to it.
So you started off with grains, and then you're growing food. So where have you evolved to, and how many years have you been evolving?
Oh, it has gone back and forth. I'm a nomad, so I start gardens and then they fall apart again. I start another garden somewhere else and hand it over to somebody. At this point, I'm mostly working with fruit trees, but for other people. What I try to do is, instead of me now growing all my own food or being a farmer growing food for people, I go into just regular people's yard and build them a little box or dig up a little patch and have them grow their own food. A lot of people, once the seeds are in the ground, they're like, oh, I can do this, but they can't get over that initial hump of like, oh, here's a bunch of weeds in April, what do I do now? So that's often how I come in, just inspire them, get a little bit of work done, and then people take it on their own.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah. So you were saying something about composting too, and all that kind of stuff when we were talking offline.
Well, yes, compost is in the system I worked in, and this is my main thing: is you do not have to do a certain thing. Experiment with gardening. Make mistakes. It's okay if something doesn't grow. Pull it out. Plant something else. Don't give up. That's how you learn. Try different things. If you don't know the right spacing, plant something 6 inches apart and some things 10 inches apart. And next year you know what's the best one. Experiment, observe, and adjust. But I started out with the French intensive system. Getting too old to double dig. So while it's still a good concept, you don't have to do that. Just plant things a little further apart. So my main thing is go out there, do it. Have fun, experiment. It doesn't have to be perfect right away, and you will learn. The plants will tell you. But composting is the key. However, a lot of people in the small backyard don't have enough material to make compost. But even then, it's like, well, get a 5-gallon bucket, drill a couple holes in it, dig up a few earthworms. You don't have to buy earthworms in the mail. Pick up a plant or a pot, and there's going to be 2 or 3 earthworms under there. Pick up a paver, there's a few earthworms. Go around, pick up a couple dozen earthworms, and in a few months you got a box full.
So this is kind of cool. So what are some other basic beginning DIY projects that can help local people with their farms and their gardens getting their gardens going?
Oh boy.
Pick your top two favorite besides
The top two favorites is, well, you know, most people who once they get inspired with gardening, they want to do half an acre. Start small. That's my main thing. Just don't overdo it. You know, start small, expand on it. And every year you learn something. Every year you fine tune it. Every year you're adding something to it. But the key thing is, again, starting with the old seeds. Where do you get them? Yes, there's companies out there, but a lot of them, if they're selling seeds from, you know, Florida or Missouri, they don't necessarily grow in Maine or California. So look for the old Italian across the street. You know, go for, you know, some lady down the road came over from Laos or something, or from the Philippines. You know, look for these often old people at this point. Look for ethnic groups. You know, walk around your neighborhood and look over the fence and see what's growing there, and then knock on the door and
create community along with getting good seeds, huh?
Exactly, and those seeds are already adapted to your locality.
Yeah.
And that's what I found when I buy seeds from a company. It usually takes me 2 or 3 years to adapt. So there's a few basic things for seed saving. I mean, the first year, just let a few things, just don't eat them. That's very simple. That often doesn't make the best seed necessary, because you need a certain amount and different crossing things, but sometimes just start. Just let a few things grow, just for the fun of it. And if you didn't have anything, go to the supermarket, buy an onion, buy a carrot, buy a beet. Stick them in a 5-gallon bucket on your patio if you live in a condo, and let them grow, see what happens.
Yeah, there are a lot of things you can do like that.
And from then on, you kind of can fine-tune it, take some classes, and work with it. For example, lettuce. You know, you plant, I don't know, 10, 15 lettuce heads, and now there's like 2 or 3 starting to bolt. And most people go like, oh, that's why I'm going to let go to seed. No. Because if you do that, what are you selecting for is quick bolting lettuce. So you want to pull those out and actually do a little bit of sacrifice and select the 2 or 3 best ones who are not bolting. Now you do that 2 or 3 years in a row, you have a bulletproof lettuce variety.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah. Well, so Yeti has given us some wonderful tips on beginning gardening. The biggest ones being go slow and to just start. I think those are the 2 biggest walkaways, that if you are thinking about growing your own food, which I hope you are, even if it's just a little bit, just start. And I want to thank you, Yeti.
You're welcome.
And going back and forth here. And hope to run into you again another day and get some more from you.
Will do. Good luck.
Okay.
Awesome.